Hello and welcome to this episode of I Don't Know Jack About Parenting, where today I'm going to be talking about weathering the storm. Parents, let's set the example. So the big question is this: how are parents like us, who don't have a manual, who are doing the best we can, who feel as though we aren't enough, how are we going to raise healthy, happy children who we are proud of and still keep our sanity in that process? That's the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. My name is Ryan Roy, and welcome to I Don't Know Jack About Parenting, a podcast for parents who are being real with themselves. Hello and welcome back to this episode of I Don't Know Jack About Parenting, where today I'm going to be talking about weathering a storm. Parents, we need to set the example for our kids. See, right now, we are going through a pandemic. This coronavirus has us in an uproar as a nation, as a world. And what I find is happening is there are a lot of parents who are in a state of panic. And the kids are taking on that energy. And that energy is not serving you, your family. It's not serving anybody. And when I said weathering the storm, the whole thing I want to talk about here, listen, and you guys know I don't know jack about parenting, but these are some things that I share with you on this podcast that just make sense. I don't know what your life experience is, but I'm sure there's been some type of storm that you've had to weather in your life, whether that be a relationship storm, whether that be a financial storm, maybe it's a physical storm. And I'm going to give the analogy of a hurricane. I don't think I've ever shared this, but I grew up in South Florida. I have weathered through a number of physical hurricanes. And one thing I know definitely about hurricanes is that they come. It is crazy in the middle of it. And just so you know, we're in the middle of this pandemic right now. And those who get through it are prepared and they're calm. And then the storm goes and there's a ton of devastation. Just know there's going to be a ton of devastation in the aftermath of this particular storm, also called the coronavirus or the COVID-19 pandemic. So, what do we do as parents? What did I say? Be prepared. Listen to advisors. One thing I know through all the hurricanes that I've been through is that we have a day or two, and in this pandemic, right before they shut everything down, I just read that the county I live in has just shut down everything. Yesterday it was like, we're going to shut down parks, but you could go for a walk. Now they're like, everybody just stay indoors. Like, if you had prepared yourself for the last 9-10 days when they announced it here in the state of Georgia, you could have started preparing yourself. There is enough food in my house and ideas and games and things to keep us as a family preoccupied for at least a month. Why? Because somebody told us there was a problem. We got prepared. Now that we're in the eye of the hurricane or in the storm, there are people now panicking. And I'm going to give you the example. When a hurricane's coming, you have 3, 4, 5 days, and they start saying, hey, it's coming, it's off the Atlantic coast, it's coming from Africa, it projects to go here, and I'm talking South Florida, right? So it's either going to go down to Cuba and into the Gulf of Mexico, but could swing back or go up to New Orleans or up to Georgia or up to the panhandle of Florida. And they give you all these projections. And if you lie or live in that area, the idea is to get prepared. The other thing they do when it gets really close are like, listen, you need to evacuate. You need to leave. And I'll tell you this with 100% certainty because I'm still here. When I've left and it's hit the place where I lived, I'm glad I left, right? I'm glad I heeded the warning. When I was fully prepared and it skated around us or came close to us and we lost power, one time for 1 day, another time for 5 days, another time for a week, I had all the supplies I needed. What did I have? I had things like propane in my tank. I had ice. Listen to me. I froze ice blocks in Ziploc bags in my freezer and used like an old ice box. And then we took those blocks of ice that were packed in the freezer and put them in the refrigerator, because an old ice box had what? Ice delivered before electricity at the bottom of the refrigerator. Use those ice blocks. I had a cool, not a cold, but a cold freezer and a cool refrigerator for an entire week, because I had the ice blocks in that freezer, which meant I had food that was refrigerated for an entire week. I had propane in my gas for my grill, and I was cooking frozen pizzas on my grill. Why? Because I had food. I had food that could be refrigerated or frozen, and it's frozen for 3 or 4 days. And I was the only one in my neighborhood who actually had food after 3 days, because I was prepared. This is no different. People are heeding the warnings. Hey, wash your hands, stay at home, do this stuff. Social distancing. By social distancing, they mean stay home. For those who aren't heeding those warnings, they may potentially lose their life. Just like those people who stayed in their house during a hurricane when they were coming through the eye of the storm. So my question to you is this. Like, there is a storm happening. Are you, one, prepared? Are you in denial and not listening to what it is that the news is saying? And how hard is it to get prepared? How hard is it to be prepared so that if the storm does come, and we are in the middle of it right now, so the storm has come, so that you can be calm in this journey with your children? Because uncertainty for children is 10 times worse than it is for adults. I'm going to tell you why. Because there's nothing they can fucking do. I'm sorry, I never curse on this. But when you're freaking out because you are unprepared, and the person who's relying on you to be prepared is your child, it is so frustrating to me to see parents right now freaking out. What do I do? Oh my God, they told me I can't go to work. They've been telling you for 10 days you can't go to work. And now all of a sudden, the government's going to take care of some of those things. But just like a hurricane, nobody's going to work. You need to sit still, or you need to evacuate, so that you can not only save your lives in that hurricane scenario, but you can save other people's lives. Like you going out in the workforce right now when they're asking you to stay home. You going out to the park when they're asking you to stay home. You going out to the grocery store 3 times a day because you're not getting enough stuff and not stocking up. You're putting other people in danger. And that's unfair due to your lack of preparedness. So as a parent, listen to the news, because the whole world is being affected, not just your county, not just you. Your kids are being affected, and most importantly, everybody around you is being affected, because they're trying to slow down. Nobody said this thing is going to stop. They're trying to slow down this pandemic. They're trying to slow down this virus so it doesn't get a hold of everybody in the nation. They're trying to slow it down until they could find a vaccine or a cure for it. And right now they don't have those things. So you saying, it's not going to happen to me, is not serving the greatest purpose of getting this thing under control. So people keep saying, what can I do? And what I hear on the news is, what you can do is stay home so we could get this under control. And the government's working on ways to make sure that people get paid so that the bills are taken care of, and the financial burden at least is lifted for a short period of time. But the government can't do that for an extended period of time, but they can do it for 2, 4, maybe 6 weeks until this thing gets under control. But we can't do that if people aren't listening to the warnings. So how do you weather a storm? You listen to the experts. You get prepared based on what the experts are saying, and they're saying you need at least 2 weeks indoors. And then you need to actually do that. And when you're prepared, those 2 weeks at home should be a blessing to you and your family. Parents, enjoy your kids for 2 weeks, but you're not going to enjoy them if you're unprepared. Let's weather this storm together. Let's weather it as parents. Let's get through this pandemic together, and we will be a greater family, a greater state, a greater nation for having gone through it. We'll see you in the next episode.
Do you want to be the dad you wish you had? If so, go get my free book, Be the Dad You Wish You Had, at BeTheDadYouWishYouHad.com. Inside, you'll find my most effective 40 tips to quickly and easily transform yourself into the ideal dad. Go to BeTheDadYouWishYouHad.com now and get it while it's free.